and welcome back. This is Finally Game Music, and this is episode 142. We're going to talk about a composer specifically today, and it's going to be Tatsuyuki Maeda. So who is this guy? Tatsuyuki Maeda was born on the 11th of June 1968 in Tokyo, Japan. He graduated school and he graduated with an electric organ player course in his backpack. And since then, he has been working as a composer, arranger, sound designer, and a Foley artist. A Foley artist is basically one who puts music to film and series and such, if you did not know that already. So, looking at Tatsuyuki, he started working back with the Japanese company Sega back in 1992 at the age of 24 years old. Sadly, there ain't much information about him online, and we might get into why that is later in the episode. So today, we will get to know him more through his work through his music, mostly. More on this later. So we're going to start out simply with Golden Axe 3 and the song titled Bloody Street. Golden Axe 3 and the song as titled Bloody Street. The soundtrack here was composed by the Japanese Naofumi Hataya, also credited as NH, Tatsuyuki Maeda, and was credited as Ryu Yonosuke, and then Haro Ugoru, also known as credited as Lori, and last but not least, Tomonori Sawada, also credited as just TS in this game. The game here was developed by the Japanese Sega Enterprises and was released exclusively in Japan, the 25th of June 1993. The game it was also released back in US in 1997 through their Sega Channel functionality. It was also released on Wii through the Virtual Console back in 2007, released as a port for iOS back in 2011, and then on PC back in 2012, and lastly on Linux and Mac back in 2018. So this game has gotten quite a couple of kind of a re-releases-ish thing. Super interesting though. But looking at Tatsuyuki's career here, he has been working at Sega more or less exclusively together with the Sega sound team. And following up with his first work on Golden Axe 3 is Sonic the Hedgehog 3. So 2 3s in a row. Nice. After that one, we had Sonic & Knuckles together with Pro Striker 2, and all these got released back in 1994, the year after Golden Axe. We have multiple titles each coming year coming up with Super Columns, Panzer Dragoon, and Astal in 1995, where Panzer Dragoon, he only did work with voices. In 1996, he worked on Sonic 3D Blast and Dragon Force, and then in 1998, he worked on Sonic Adventures and Sakura Taisen 2, Shinitamu Kato Nakare. And yeah, in the game that are following up here is our next stop. It's back to Skies of Arcadia. And I did not choose this one by myself. It's yet again Karuchi who's coming in wild and hot with Skies of Arcadia music. And here comes his little comment that he added. I have actually shortened it down a little bit to keep it more secluded to Tatsuyuki Maeda. So he starts out his comment with, Tatsuyuki Maeda, you say? Doesn't that mean another Skies of Arcadia track coming up? Question mark. I believe so! Exclamation mark. His contribution to the soundtrack really isn't as stellar as Yutaka Minobe's, but there are some very solemn tunes to his name, as well as some battle music. Out of all his contributions, I think I'll pick The Great Silver Shrine. It's a close call between that one and several others, but the uncanny yet calming atmosphere of the place is really what brought forward to this piece. So we're going to listen to Skies of Arcadia, The Great Silver Shrine. The Great Silver Shrine from the game Skies of Arcadia, a requested tune by Karuchi. Together with the Japanese Yutaka Minobe, Tatsuyuki composed this soundtrack, and we already talked about the soundtrack multiple times in the last released episode, so I'm really not going to talk about more despite the company or the composers themselves here. We have gone through them, don't worry. But something we haven't talked about is this specific soundtrack and the specific information about today's composer. That is Tatsuyuki. He composed 25 of the songs on the official soundtrack that spans over 2 CDs. So I'm a little bit unsure in total how many songs he made for this soundtrack, and also most likely he have been working on a couple of the sound effects for this game. Because as I noted in the beginning of the episode, we have a little bit of a special case here, because when it comes to Tatsuyuki here, he have been working a lot on sound effects for games, especially games for the Sonic series. So, after looking at the hit that is Skies of Arcadia, Tatsuyuki continued his work with a lot of Sonic games, but also some other games. Games such as Daytona USA and the same year as they worked on Skies of Arcadia. He also worked on Shinobi and Gun Valkyrie in 2002, Yoshi's Topsy Turvy in 2004, and we're from here then jumps a bit further ahead back to, ahead in this case, to 2007, where we find the next game that we're going to give it a little listen to. But before that, I want just to go through and note that Tatsuyuki have been working on 8 total Sonic titles between Skies of Arcadia and the game we're stopping at, Sonic and the Secret Rings. And we're going to listen to the track, which is one of my favorite ones of this game, called The Wicked Wild. Sonic and the Secret Rings, and the song The Wicked Wild. And yeah, there's a reason why I haven't really talked about the tracks and, well, specifically the games of the first two, because first of all, Golden Axe was exclusively released in Japan, and I've already multiple times told you that I haven't been able to play Skies of Arcadia yet. But yeah, when it comes to Sonic and the Secret Rings, this is a game that I have been playing though. And yeah, let's go through the information first before we head into the game specifically. So the soundtrack here is, however, not representable to Tatsuyuki, as he almost exclusively are working on sound effects for Sonic games, with a few exceptions. And just looking at the time dates now that we have from 2001 back in forefront all the way to modern times now, looking at for example, Daytona USA was one example of a game that he did compose music for. So looking at Sonic and the Secret Rings, he did not specifically make the music or any of the songs in this game, but he did work on a lot of the sound effects for this game as well. But I really do enjoy this soundtrack a lot, and I do enjoy the game as well, even though I'm always having a hard time with the games of Sonic for some reason. In my opinion, I think they're usually mediocre at best. I'm not having that much fun with them. But I do love Sonic as a character. I really do. I loved watching Sonic growing up, and I still love all the videos and such that comes out. I've seen most of them, that I know of at least. And Sonic X is actually one of my favorite animes, especially when it comes to Sonic at least. Well, looking at that, maybe Sonic X is also the best one. I'm a little bit unsure. Let's just say Sonic Underground was not the greatest hit of all time. But yeah, looking at the music though here for this game, it was composed by the Japanese people, the Kenichi Tokoi, Fumi Kumatani, Sekiro Okamoto, and Hideaki Kobayashi. And Sonic and the Secret Rings was one of the games that was released at the same time as the Nintendo Wii was released in the stores. And this game was also exclusively released for Wii. And Wii was around 2007. I don't have specific dates themselves. If I remember correctly, it was something October or something like that when I got mine. I actually got mine on release date as well. I really did enjoy and loved my Wii, not Wii U. I still like my Wii U though, but Wii, I was actually really surprised by the Wii. Even though I didn't buy too many games, I actually got most of the games at a later date. At the beginning, I did get Twilight Princess, Zelda, and a couple of other games where Sonic and the Secret Rings was one of them. So continuing from here, so ever since 2001 all up until today, Tatsuyuki have only been working on actually 3 soundtracks, but he has been working on over 40 games. So other than Sonic over multiple games here, he started working on and with the Yakuza series back in 2009, where Yakuza 3 was released, and until 2012, Tatsuyuki worked on a total of 11 game titles. We have 4 Sonic games, we have Knight's Journey into Dreams, 3 Yakuza games, and 2 Phantasy Star games. And these span over the course of time all the way up to the next game. And the end of the release date of that one we will have in short time. But first, let's enjoy Receive and Slash You from Yakuza 5. Receive and Slash You from Yakuza 5, and I really did enjoy this song. But this time, looking at the whole team that is working on the music and sound effects at Sega, we have the Japanese director and composer Mitsuharu Fukuyama, and then we have the team together with Takashi Nagasaka, Shihiro Aoki, Yuri Fukuda, Masaharu Setsumaru, Takeshi Isozaki, Saori Yoshida, Asami Takeo, Yusei Sawai, and Tomo Sekine. And of course, we have Tatsuyuki working on this as well, together with everybody. And yeah, it is amazing to see so many people working together for this amazing soundtrack. And Yakuza is a beloved series as well. Us people in the West have started just getting like a big whole shebang of it now. There are multiple of these Yakuza games that have been starting to release here. We get re-releases and so on as well, which is amazing to see. I myself have not played Yakuza, but I have been recommended starting playing it because I thought Yakuza series was basically like a new Japanese GTA kind of game, but apparently it is not. But at the same time, I only have the PS4, I do not have a PS3, where the whole series kind of took on in the West at least. So I haven't been able to kind of play it yet, but I hopefully will be able to start playing this soon enough. But looking at the game here, Yakuza 5, it was developed by the Japanese Ryuga Gotoku studio, which is a housed company within Sega and is part of the Sega's CS Research and Development Team number 1. The studio itself that took over the development of the Yakuza series with this game. Yakuza 5 was exclusively released for the PS3 in Japan of the 6th of December 2012. And the game was also released in the US through PSN back in 2015 and was also later ported to PC and Xbox this year. So this one is actually quite new if you are a PC player like me. But looking at the games that kind of came up after Yakuza 5, Tatsuyuki follows up with Rhythm Thief, and then the sequel to Phantasy Star Online back in 2012, Utakumi 575 in 2014, Yakuza 6 The Song of Life in 2016, together with Puyo Puyo Chronicles. We have Sonic Forces in 2017, Shining Resonance Refrain, and a Certain Magical Virtual On in 2018, and lastly, and let's just sum up all the Sonic and Mario and Sonic at Olympic Games. We have the Winter Games in 2013, Olympic Games in 2016, and lastly in Tokyo 2020. And here we are going to make our last stop with a spin-off of the spin-off series Mario and Sonic at some Olympic game. So we're going to listen to the mobile game Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020 that released last year. So we're going to listen to the song Odaiba Hub World. And that was the last track of the week. This was Sonic at the Olympic Games Tokyo 2020. And the track was called Odaiba Hub World. And I really did enjoy this one. This was more of a serene kind of thing going on. It kind of felt tropical in some way and to some extent. Even though Tokyo itself does not feel like a tropical island, so to speak. But I just feel if this was like a Hawaiian music, I would enjoy this one very much. And I think it's because of the more kind of xylophonic kind of take on this Hub World thing. I don't know why, but it kind of reminds me of Nintendo music as well, especially for the Wii, like the menu music and stuff like that. I really did enjoy this one, and it felt fresh. So, considering all the music we'll listen to today, we have been both high and low here. We've been on more rocky kind of thing with the Wicked Wild and Receive and Slash You, and we had those more down to earth with this one and the great Silver Shrine. So I'm really happy with all the types of music we kind of listened to this week. So, when we're looking at the composers for this soundtrack, we have the Japanese Hideyukuni Hiroita, we have Kenichi Tokoi, Tomoya Otani, and then Yun Zenno, together with the sound editors Tatsuyuki and Teruhiko Nakagawa. And the game, it was co-developed with the Japanese studio Sega Games and Star Factory. The game, it was released on the 7th of May 2020 for Android and iOS devices. And I actually do not know that much. I actually have not played this or heard about this title, but this is a mobile exclusive title, so I'm wondering what type of thing it kind of conveys. But just listening to the soundtrack that the game has, it wouldn't surprise me if Tatsuyuki worked a lot on the different arrangements for this game, because for some reason, or I don't know, since I haven't played this, there are a lot of remixes from other games that are implemented into this mobile game. So I'm just thinking out loud here that a lot of the tunes in this one, they have some original ones, like this, the Hub World, but they have taken a lot of different music from famous Sonic games in course of time. So you have like the Team Quenix and other team music, and you have remixes of different zones from, I think it is Sonic Colors, for example, the aquatic theme and stuff like that. I'm a little bit unsure because I didn't listen back to all the older ones. I just listened to the remixes that were up and available on this soundtrack. But yeah, usually when it comes to mobile games, it's usually hard to find all these soundtracks, but apparently since it is a Sonic game, it's super easy to come by, even though it's harder to find like officially released soundtracks and stuff like that. But they have this soundtrack online at least, which made it a lot easier to get by and listen to at least. But yeah, that is it for Tatsuyuki. The main reason why we didn't have that much music on this guy is because mainly he has been working on sounds effect a lot. And it's super interesting that he have worked on so many different games at Sega, and he has worked on sound effects for almost, like, I think it's like 20 Sonic games or something. I actually didn't count them, but there are a lot of Sonic games, and especially more of the Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games recently in the last like 5 or 6 years now. But it's super interesting to see this go on. I haven't played that many of the Mario and Sonic at the Olympics. I have played a couple of them, so it always feels like rinse and repeat. I have fun-ish with them. It's still fun to play together with people at the Olympic Games, doing like silly motions and stuff like that, and just having a good time. And I've been enjoying these games a lot, to some extent at least. And I really hope you guys enjoy the music that I picked this week, and hopefully maybe got interested in some of them. I don't know. As long as you might get interested of the soundtrack and you kind of search up to hear the rest of the soundtrack, then I'm happy with what I've been doing here. Just conveying the information about the composer so you can get to know them even more. And yeah, it's kind of sad that we didn't find that much more. I tried to search for interviews and stuff like that, but there are another Tatsuyuki Maeda who works as an anime artist. So conveying and going back and forth between them, it was really hard finding specific information about Tatsuki Maeda, who work as a composer here. I didn't find any specific list on all anime that he worked on, but he did work on a lot of different anime work as well, and most of it I think was either if he was a little bit younger, but also a little bit on the side as he was working on the games themselves. And yeah, that wasn't like an interesting, even though we didn't go that deep into Tatsuyuki here. I really did enjoy this episode, and I hope you did too. So other episodes of Finally Game Music, you'll find those on our homepage, videospelsklubben.se. You can either go on Spotify or in your closest podcast app, just give it a follow or comment on anything, and even ranking would be super helpful, so others may find the podcast. And you can feel free to follow and give a comment on one of our social medias, either on Facebook or Instagram. Just search for Finally Game Music and you will get there and find there. And just like with podcast and ratings and stuff like that, just giving it a follow and commenting sometimes when you're interested in doing that helps a lot of more and new people to find the podcast. If you would like to hear your name within one of these episodes, then feel free to request a song for an upcoming podcast by commenting on any of our social pages or through Discord on Videospelsklubben.se. You can also support this podcast and for future content upgrades, quality upgrades, but also in the end future composers by becoming a Patreon today. Our current awesome backers that we have today is Mikael Sjöberg, Andreas Nilsson, and Daniel Onemark. Thank you so much for being a part and supporting this podcast. Links where you can find either and to support and buy the different soundtracks here for the composers behind the music, you will find those in our main post at videospelsklubben.se. And during the upcoming weeks now, I will have to make them a little bit shorter. I will mostly focus on the music and try to get some information about the composers, but we're going to have a summer thematic going on in the next, or at least 3 to 4 weeks. So we're not going to deep dive into any composers. And for the next week's theme, we're going to dig into summertime love. Basically, music that you get your kind of lovely feelings to. Music that you love, enjoy. Maybe you just listen to them during summer and you just get super happy about it. I just want to hear everything that kind of might cheer you up, basically. And that, of course, has this summer sweet tune. I know which I'm going to pick right straight out of the basket. I'm not gonna do that, though, because I've already played that song. It's Color of the Summer Sky from Secret of Mana, which is one of my favorite songs to listen to during summers out walking, and it's just freaking lovely. But yeah, I'm going to pick up some other tunes instead, and hopefully you will have that summertime love by the next week. So thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and see you all next time.